Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
All right, Brady. Right now, the MMA world or the UFC world is going crazy because of the Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler thing. It's all a mystery. What do you think? Do you think it's a marketing ploy?
I don't know if it's a marketing ploy. I think there is something to it, but I think there's people smart out there. I think the fight's still on. I think they're gonna make it happen, but I think they started seeing how people were getting interested in it, and so now they're playing into it. I think at first they probably did have to cancel because what was it? It was there was like a media thing, like
Press
a press
conference in
conference, and
Dublin.
yeah, and they had to cancel it. I'm sure like maybe Connor got trapped somewhere like partying or he was doing something somewhere else and he couldn't make it. And then people were like, "Is he injured?" Blah blah blah, all this stuff. And then they're like, "Well, we'll play into it. We'll see how hyped people get about it."
Just imagine like this fight goes on through, right? And Connor goes in there and knocks out Michael Chandler. Let's just say that, and then what is it? He comes out and just reveals everything that he's doing, kind of like how John Jones did. He's all like, "I did cocaine
Yeah,
a week before I beat you." You know what I mean? Like, imagine if that happened. That'd just be hilarious.
that would be funny. Kind of like what was his name? The boxer King.
Ryan, yeah, Ryan
King.
Garcia.
Yeah, Ryan Garcia. He literally just did the same thing. So that would be fucking hilarious because obviously it works out. It gets people all hyped up on the guy.
For
And
sure, man.
Connor's a crazy motherfucker. I think he could do something like that.
Yeah, he could. Let's get to you, man. You've been gone for a little bit. Let's start with the last fight that you had. Phenomenal performance, man. Third round finish. Um, Man, how was it getting that first finish, man, out the way in the UFC?
It's huge, especially because you don't want to be the guy that just goes out there and like just decisions everybody. Like winning's obviously number one. Winning's like the goal, but you don't want to be the guy that's just the decisioner. Like what do they had like a nickname for Dominic the Decision Cruz or
Just
something like
yeah,
that. And so I mean, winning's number one. That's you got to get that in the bag. But once you start finishing people, I feel like then you get a little bit more love from the fans and stuff like that. So even though the fight was a little bit rough, there was a little bit back and forth. I'm glad I at least got the finish. I got my first official UFC finish out of the way.
for sure. And how were you physically after that fight?
I was fine. I mean, I went out, was hanging out with my friends in Vegas. We went and gambled a little bit, had a lot of food. I was like 3 days after the fight. I was weighing like 167. I was all bloated, fat and happy. But I did have a cut over my eye, so I was a little split open. But it's definitely not like the worst my body felt after a fight.
It's funny that fighters will say like, "Yeah, I was bloated and fat," but they still have a six pack.
That was the crazy thing because I did. I was still ripped up, but I just looked swollen. Like all my muscles were filled with all the juice, the secret juice.
Exactly. And since that fight, man, you've been booked for a few fights and circumstances, man. Take us through that and the frustration of that because if you don't fight, you don't get paid. There's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, that's a hard part because it's like I'm like not a guy to pull out of fights, and I've had to pull out of the last two fights. The first one was out of my control completely. I got staff. Obviously I could have like maybe managed it better, but I was traveling for Mike Chiesta's fight. We went to Salt Lake City, and so on the flight it just flared up, and I ended up having to go like to the hospital, and I was on antibiotics, and I couldn't train for like the last 3 weeks leading up to that fight, and so my weight was all out of whack. I wasn't training, and like I was talking to the UFC doctors, and they're like, "Dude, you just shouldn't fight," and they pulled me from it. That one hurt because I was excited for that one. That was versus Damon right before he got that twister. So that would have been a fun fight. I'm definitely not getting twisted, but I think it would have been a fun fight. And then my last one, I re-injured the same knee that I had torn my ACL on, and so like I re-injured it. It wasn't even able to move. I couldn't bend it. Like it was like I was bent like this, and I couldn't straighten it past here, and I couldn't bend it past here, so it was like stuck. And so they had to go in and clean it out and like get all the meniscus. It was shredded in there and like folded on itself, so they had to go fix that. But now we're back. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling 100%. This camp went amazing. My weight cut went amazing, and there's no injuries. I promise.
Did When you think about knee injuries, right? A lot of people say, you're going to be out for a year, but you seem like you recovered pretty quickly from yours.
Yeah, I think because like you said, it's hard to be out of this game. Especially that's how I make my money. I did everything I could to get back as soon as possible. I was training, doing all my PT, and I was in the gym a couple months later, just like making sure my body's right. And so I just was really diligent on it and made sure that I recovered 100%. And yeah, I just want to be back in there. And so now I feel 100% and ready to go.
Nice, man. And when did you actually get back into like full contact, like sparring and stuff after the injury, after the surgery and all that?
I'd say it was probably like 3 months after. I
Mm.
was I definitely pushed the envelope. Maybe PT wasn't super happy, but I was back to full training at 3 months after the surgery.
Yeah, and I've seen you traveling a lot in the past year, right? Even like in Vegas, and I don't know, wherever I saw you online somewhere, man. You were like you're like training in the background or something. I've been seeing your face
Yeah.
very often. Like, where have you been? You know what I mean? Where have you been working, and why have you been traveling?
Yeah, I've been down to Vegas a bunch. I went down there a few times since the injury, and so I went down there for some PT, and then I've also been training at Syndicate Martial Arts with guys like Merab, Vince Morales. Even got some rounds in with Cody Steele. He's a little bit bigger, but some good work down there with those guys, and so spent a lot of time with that. And the main reason is like I want to go test myself and see what I need to improve on. And like you have your training partners here, and those are my boys, and those are the guys that are going to get me into camp and get me through everything. And so when I come back, this is where I do my camp in Spokane. But I want to go venture out, and I want to go test my skills and test what I'm doing on some guys I trust, but that are also like on the same playing field in the UFC, trying to climb for that title. And so Marab's a great partner for me to do that with, and the guys at Syndicate, because I got ties because of Mike Chiesa. He's been down there for a while. And then I've also been venturing over to Seattle. There's a gym over there with some up and coming guys, and so I've been training with them. But yeah, the main thing is just go test myself. I want to go explore and make sure that I'm like doing the right thing without leaving my team. And so when it comes to fight time, it's time to get skinny. It's time to get ready for a specific guy. I come back to Spokane with my team, and we hunker down and we focus.
Yeah, man, that's a phenomenal protocol, a phenomenal way to improve yourself. Especially, Merab. He's gonna be fighting for the title. A lot of people think he's the uncrowned champ. Testing yourself against the uncrowned champ is pretty good.
Oh, for sure, he's a savage, and I agree. I think he's gonna go and nab that title real quick.
And you mentioned a team in Seattle, right? Do you go out and like reach out to them and see if like they need somebody to come through or near, because Spokane is still a pretty good distance from Seattle because I used to live out there as well. But like, did they reach out to you? Like, how did that happen?
No, I'm pretty lucky. So my coach, Rick Little, he's pretty connected in the scene because he also does a lot of fight promotions. And so we know like Chase Hooper and his team, they fight on our promotions like their guys fight on his promotion. And so we're in contact with him. There's another gym, Eddie Grant, and they have a guy named Christian Strong who's actually fighting the day after me. So it worked out because we were both in camp. But, I feel like the MMA scene up in the Pacific Northwest is linked pretty tight. And so we all know each other, and so we all like piggyback and work with each other. Like my buddy Ashton goes and trains with Chase Hooper, and Mike even goes over and trains with Chase. And so yeah, I think we finally started realizing that it's not the Pacific Northwest versus the Pacific Northwest. Once we get these guys in the UFC, we're fighting guys like my last fight was a guy from Mongolia. We're venturing out. We're finding people from different parts of the state. We're finding people from different parts of the world. And so I think we're banding together and we're kind of making a little pack out of it, which is cool.
Yeah, the Northwest has a long MMA history. I don't think people really know, what I mean? Like the names that have come out of there, of course, Demetrius Johnson and like Josh Barnett. If you go way back, Josh Barnett was one of the originals from that area. Um,
Yeah, like even some people that don't know, like Misha Tate from Yakima,
mhm. Brian Caraway.
PCJ, Brian Caraway. I don't. If you go back even farther, Fancy Pants Lyle Beerbaum. He
Yeah,
was
yeah,
number
yeah,
3 in the world at one point. He fought like Dwayne Ludwig. He fought
yeah,
Shinya Aoki.
yeah,
There's some like history. Cody McKenzie,
yeah.
he was on GSP and Josh Koscheck's season Ultimate Fighter. He's from Spokane. It's
Dennis
crazy.
Hallman. Dennis Hallman's
Dennis
another one.
Hallman,
Yeah.
dude. It's crazy. We got some history up here for like we're
Mhm.
not known for much in the Pacific Northwest. We just got some tough, scrappy fighters.
Now moving on to the opponent, man, Garrett Armfield. What do you think of the fighting style that he has?
I think he has a good style. You know, he's like, I feel like it's very similar. A little bit, it has its own flavor, but it's very similar to my past opponents. Where very good boxer with good wrestling defense, and like obviously everyone in the UFC has good ground game, but just a really skilled boxer. Not a whole lot of kicks, but really good with his hands. I think his style is a little bit more fluid, a little bit more rhythmic than like Dana, who's just a power puncher and heavy handed, and Fernie, who has some crisp, you know, like old fashioned Mexican boxing. But I feel like it's very similar to the guys that I fought in the past, and you know, it didn't work out for those guys, and I don't think it's gonna work out for him.
Yeah, I saw something about like this is the battle of the frat boys or something. Why is that? Are you guys both frat boys?
No, I actually never even went to college. I went to college for like a couple months. But it got announced on Twitter, and I saw like 5 comments saying it's the battle of the frat boys, and I'm like, or battle of the obscure chest tattoos. So I was like, that's fucking. It made me laugh, so I'm like, I'm rolling with it.
All right,
We
all
look
right.
like a bunch of frat boys with our hats backwards, you know, a couple
Yeah.
white kids.
Well, I don't know. A lot of people look like that, so they're not even in frats. So it is what it is. I
Yeah,
guess you could try to hype it up as much as you can, right? That's what you need to do in this game.
for sure. And I know he's a nice guy, so it's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna engage in a whole lot of trash talk. So might as well make the shit funny.
Has there been anybody in the past where you really didn't like them? Like you just did not like them. Like you did not like the way they looked. You just the way they moved. Any opponents?
You know, I don't really like give a shit about like the other guy as much, so I've never really been like, fuck that dude, I hate that dude. You know, it's always about me, like, and what I need to do to beat this guy. But I guess that my second fight on Tough was against this guy named Vince Morales, or not Vince Morales, Vince Murdoch. And dude, he was such a douchebag in the house. Like, he wouldn't come out of his room. He was like, he was rude to all the cast. Like low key, like everyone from the cast like came up to me and was like, "Don't tell anybody, but we're actually rooting for you because Vince has kind of been a dick." So it was like it wasn't even like I didn't like him. I was like, I need to beat this dude because he's just been a tool bag. I thought he was better than everyone because he almost got in the UFC before. So he's like, I don't even know why the fuck I'm here. And I'm like, so that one felt good to go beat that guy. But honestly, everyone I fought's been pretty cool, except for the last guy I fought did not. In between rounds, I don't know if it was just because he couldn't speak English. He would just like get in my face, or maybe he was tired. But like it just amps me up. It just like gives me a little bit more motivation. I'm like, okay, now I got to get this fucker.
It's weird, right? Like in like if he gets in your face, it could be like in his country, it could be something of like respect, but you just don't know because you don't understand.
Exactly. Like after the fight, after I finished him, I went to like say something to him, and I'm like talking. I'm like, dude, this dude don't know what I'm saying. He's like looking at me like, not even no facial expression, just looking at me. I'm like, yeah, this is pointless, and just walked away.
Mongolians are pretty stoic, man. They're not like I don't
For
really
sure.
see. Yeah, there's not much like shit talking going on. I don't think so. I've been around a couple of Mongolians, but not too crazy. Man, what's your expectations in this fight, man? You said it. You expect a certain style, right? But I'm pretty sure you're gonna be more of the guy that's gonna be mixing the martial arts. Do you feel that way?
100%. You know, I feel like that's I've in the past I've been classified as a grappler, but I think even in my last 2 official UFC fights, they've shown that like I got some nasty kicks, I got some good striking, I got some good hands. I was able to drop Dana in that first round. Obviously finished him with TKO. Um, and so I think obviously my wrestling's on point. I'm known for being a grappler, but I feel like it's showing that like I'm becoming a well-rounded mixed martial artist. And I think Garrett Armfield's got like a really good boxing background, but I haven't seen too much in the wrestling department that's like anything to be scared of. And so I think I'm gonna mix it all together. I'm gonna tire this dude out. I'm gonna finish him, and then I'm gonna be the new kid on the block, climbing these rankings at 25 years old.